Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and in today's class we're going to continue with our Math 11 content. And what we're going through today is going to be domain and range, and whether or not a relation that's given to you, you have to basically just determine whether it's a function or not. So with that, let's get started. All right, so here we are. Okay, so I wrote down domain and range. So let's try some examples here. Okay. So the first question is basically whether or not the graph represents a function. Okay, so I'm just going to give you the equation. So it's y equals negative 3x minus 7. Okay, so say the equation is like this. Okay, so maybe we'll just do a little bit of like a sketch here. Like this, okay? And we can see that we are going to go to 5, 6. This is negative 7 here, okay? And because I notice, okay, that the slope here of this line is actually negative, okay? Remember, this is the rise over the run, okay? I can go in both directions. Let's try the direction going downwards first. Okay, so I'm basically, this is the rise. The rise is negative 3, so I'm moving down 3. So we're going 1, 2, 3, and the run is positive 1, so we're going right here, 1. Okay, and at the same time, remember, I can also reverse the negative signs here. I can go up 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then you can move negative 1. So the point should be right here. Okay, note down when you are graphing this line. So I'm going to just draw like a straight line. Okay, make sure you're always using a ruler. This is my line for y equals negative 3x minus 7. Okay, and we're trying to see whether or not this graph represents a function. Okay, and so for a graph to be a function, okay, we have to use the vertical line test, which is basically I'm just going to make like a straight line with my ruler. Okay, like this, or you don't have to put arrows. We're just putting a straight line. Okay, and I notice that it doesn't matter where I draw my straight line. So let's make a line here. Okay, that's where this point should be here. I noticed that basically my vertical lines here are actually going through only one point in the graph, okay? So whether or not it is a function here, okay? So let's put it on the side maybe. So a function, okay, is when I'm going to put each x value, okay? It only has one y value. Okay, there will be some general patterns, okay, that we will look at. So if you're looking at this one, anytime you have actually a linear equation or a linear relation, it is always a function. It does satisfy the vertical line test every time. Okay, does everyone see that? All right, good. So let's try maybe one more here. Okay, so I'm going to maybe write it over here. Okay, let's try a different relation. So y equals like 2x minus 1 squared minus 2. Okay, so say this is my equation now. Okay, so remember this is the vertex form. Okay, and I know that this is a parabola here because I have the squared sign. Okay, so the vertex is going to be what you see inside the brackets here. So positive 1. Okay, as well as what's outside the brackets, which is negative 2. Okay, now say I actually just draw a quick sketch of my graph. So I'm going to draw it at 1 and negative 2. This is my vertex, okay? And I do notice we're not going to make a very specific graph here. Okay, but because there's no negative sign in front, I know that my parabola is opening upwards like this. Okay, does everyone see that? And so what we're going to do here is see whether or not, again, this graph represents a function. Okay, so I'm going to just draw maybe like a straight line like this. I notice it's only going through, it only has one y value here for this x value. Okay, and again, it doesn't really matter, okay, where I draw my vertical line. I do notice that it's only going through one point on the graph, okay? So we'll put therefore, this graph does represent a function, okay? Or maybe you should write it for this linear line as well. Okay, so as a general rule, okay, if you do have like a linear relation like this, okay, or even if it's a parabola, like a regular parabola, okay, it does represent a function. Both of them, as you can see, do pass the vertical line test here, okay? And so what I wanted to focus on was the domain and the range, okay? So let's try it for this function. It's y equals negative 3x minus 7. So when I do my domain, okay, the domain basically just represents your x values, okay? So it's all the x values, okay, that this function can take on. So I notice again, because this is a line, I have arrowheads, okay, on both sides, which means that the line just keeps on going in both sides. There are no restrictions, okay, for the domain. So how you actually write it is going to be like the brackets like this. It has to be a curved bracket. And this is x represents all real numbers. So we're going to write it like this, okay? And if you're doing the range here, okay, the range actually represents all of the y values, okay? Or what are all the y values, okay, that this function can take on. And again, I notice, so this is our x-axis, this is the y-axis. Okay, and because the line again just keeps on going in both directions, I notice along the y-axis, it can take on any of these numbers. There are no restrictions. Okay, so for the y values here, we're going to do y is all real numbers. Okay, if you're wondering what the symbol is, it's basically kind of like a C, and then draw just like a line through it. Okay, so this is the domain and range all the time. Okay, for any linear function. The domain is all real numbers, and the range is also all real numbers, okay? Let's take a look at the second example that we did here. This was a parabola. So let's write the domain here with the range. Okay, if you look at the domain, again, let's just label this. This is the x-axis, the y-axis. Because this parabola just keeps on going, okay, in both directions, again, I notice there are no restrictions for x. It can just take on any of these x values. Okay, does everyone see that? So how we will write it here will be x is all real numbers. Okay, and it looks like this. This is the domain. However, when you do the range here, you do actually have to write all real numbers all the time. Okay, but now if you look at the range for this function here, okay, I'm going to draw just like a line, like a dotted line here, like this. Because I noticed that this parabola is not going below this -2 line. It's not going over here. It's only in the positive range here, okay? Or it's above the -2 value, okay, for the y. So I can notice that there is a restriction, okay, for the range. And the range has to be, the y value has to be greater than or equal to -2. Does everyone see that? Okay, and let's write it here as well. So I'm going to put y is greater than or equal to -2. So like this. I have to make sure that I put the equal sign here, okay? Because I noticed that the vertex for my parabola is actually equal to -2. Okay, for a parabola, anytime the parabola is actually opening upwards, the value for the range, it's always going to be greater than or equal to whatever that y value is. Okay, does everyone see that? Okay, good. So with that, let's go to the next example here. All right, and let's try it on this page. Let's try a different graph or a different relation here. I'm just going to write down the equation. So it says x squared plus y squared equals to 4. Okay, so if you remember from grade 10 math here, okay, this is the equation of a circle. Okay, it doesn't say to actually graph it out, okay, but we will take a look at that. if I'm looking for the radius of this circle, okay, remember the equation is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. If I take the square root of 4 here, it's equal to 2. This is what my radius is, okay? We can draw like a quick sketch, okay, just so everyone can see this. The reason we're sketching it out is because we do want to write down the domain and range as well, okay? So when the radius is 2 like this, okay, the origin of the circle is actually at 0, 0. Okay, so it's basically 2 units in all 4 directions. Does everyone see that? Because I have a radius of 2. So I'm going to just join the circle or the dots together to form my circle. This is just a rough sketch, okay? So first off, we're going to see actually whether or not this circle is a function or not. So let's do a vertical line test, okay? So this is -1. So I'm going to make a line that goes through -1 like this, okay? This is +1. We'll make like another line going through there. Use a ruler, okay, when you're doing that. And you notice when I make a line, okay, through this circle, it's actually going through 2 points here. Does everyone see that? Okay, so that for that one x value of -1, I actually have 2 y values, okay? Same thing over here. I drew another vertical line here. It's going through 1. So for x equals 1, I notice that there's this point for y, and there's also this point for y, okay? And remember our definition for a function is basically for every x value, there can only be one y value, okay? So here we're going to put therefore, this is not a function for the circle. Okay, so any kind of circle graph that's given to you, it is not a function, okay? Maybe we should just memorize that. Let's try the domain and the range, okay? So say I'm doing my domain. Again, I'm just going to put x's all real numbers, okay? But this time, if you're looking on the x-axis here, I notice it's only going from -2 to +2. Does everyone see that? And this is how you write it. So x is greater than or equal to -2, but it's less than or equal to +2. So just like this. Okay, make sure, again, your brackets are these curved brackets, okay? It's not regular brackets here. Okay, and lastly, let's try the range for this function here. So y is going to be all real numbers, okay? And again, so this is my y-axis because we have a bunch of lines here. Again, I notice for the y values, it's going from -2 to +2. Does everyone see that? So y is going to be greater than or equal to -2, less than or equal to +2. Okay, so just like this. So this is how you're writing the domain and range, and this is for the circle. Again, the circle is not a function, and it doesn't matter where the circle is. The circle is centered at 0, 0. That doesn't mean all the circles have to be centered at 0, 0, okay? Always draw out the center of the circle first. Okay, and then whatever the radius is, that's the number of units from the center of the circle in all 4 sides. Okay, so you notice here our radius was 2. So we just drew 2 units going in all directions here. And then we joined all these circle or the dots together to form the circle. So this is a very accurate sketch, okay, of the circle. So remember that the domain just represents all of your x values, okay? And the range represents all the y values that the curve can take on. All right, okay, and so that looks good. And if there are no questions, that does bring this video to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see everyone in the next video. Thanks, bye.